Has been on the ground in eastern Kentucky for nearly 2 months now, and they are still helping flood victims that are wanting help.
Meanwhile, western Kentucky tornado victims know how difficult it can be to get help. And tonight, WKYT investigates FEMA's response to our neighbors in western Kentucky and how vastly different it is to the work going on in eastern Kentucky.
Rebuilding homes and businesses in eastern Kentucky is slow but steady work.
4 feet out of the water.
We listened to stories of survival.
FEMA came and looked at it.
And of sadness.
And they only offered $176.
When FEMA's first checks came in.
I figure if money's not coming in, I don't know what we're going to do.
Very grateful for them. I just wish that they, would come through a little faster because it is trying.
For some, the money was much less than expected, not nearly enough to rebuild a home.
People's lost everything they've got, and they go over and they're getting turned down, or $500 or $178. I mean, it's just a slap in the face, and I do hope they get it changed.
I hope they can see that this is something that never happened before, and people is not out just for the money, they out to get a place to live.
FEMA workers continue to say the financial aid is coming in an even larger amount than what we saw in western Kentucky. The organization approved aid for about 6,500 people in the first month after the devastation. That's almost triple the number of households that received money from FEMA after the tornadoes in western Kentucky.
It's geography. Is the infrastructure that's there and their support element that sometimes FEMA's, the requirements are not as great as they are from one disaster to the other. And that's why it's very difficult, and it's sometimes appears to be slow, is because we're meeting the survivors where they are and trying to fit our programs and other federal agencies' programs into helping them jumpstart their recovery.
FEMA worker Brett Howard says the organization pays out when other avenues for reimbursement, like homeowners insurance, don't.
Western Kentucky was a wind event, eastern Kentucky a flooding event. Usually what you find, and what we found true to be in western Kentucky, is the majority of the homeowners were insured for wind-related damages. And there was a lot of insurance in western Kentucky, as opposed to eastern Kentucky, where you have a flood event, and flood insurance is never covered on a homeowner's insurance policy. So there's not a lot of insurance. So you see a large discrepancy in the numbers.
We're also seeing a large discrepancy in the number of homeowners who withdrew applications. In western Kentucky, 44% of claims were withdrawn, duplicates, or did not respond to FEMA's follow-ups with their initial applications.
In western Kentucky, their insurance covered their needs. It met their needs, so they didn't have anything for FEMA or another federal agency to assist them with, and they withdrew. We find quite often, more than we would like, that when we get to a homeowner or a survivor to perform our home assessment, our inspection of the home and the damages, we're being told that I never called you. Why are you here? And so we run into that more than we would like.
35% of claims in western Kentucky were denied because they were in undesignated counties or because FEMA workers referred them somewhere else. Those other places where they may be getting help include federal, state, and local organizations. FEMA partners with the Small Business Administration, the USDA, and HUD to help victims.
Would you say that FEMA is still in its early stages of providing help?
Yes, ma'am. The 30 days in, we have over $99.7 million in the hands of survivors as the federal government. That includes what FEMA has paid out and also SBA. So in 30 days, almost $100 million. That's incredible. And we're just now getting started.
Claims are still being evaluated out of eastern Kentucky, and people are still appealing initial decisions, continuing to rebuild. Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
And the final numbers are slow to come in from eastern Kentucky right now. That's because they are still only 2 months removed from the flooding.